Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Siege Deluxe Class Autobot Mirage. This figure came out in 2019 as part of Wave 4 of the Deluxe assortment. Mirage's placement in this toy line has a bit of a unique history. Back in 2018, Hasbro put out a poll asking fans to decide which set of two rivals would appear in the hot new Transformers line as a 2-pack. Autobot Wheeljack vs. Decepticon Spinister, Autobot Trax vs. Decepticon Needlenose, and Autobot Mirage vs. Decepticon Impactor. Well, a Deluxe Class Mirage and Impactor were both revealed for the toy line, but separately, and with Impactor as the Autobot everyone knows and loves. Then, once everyone had already gotten their fill of new mold goodness, Hasbro decided to drop the 2-pack. A barely changed Impactor with a new badge, a Power Dasher no one expected, and a predictable Crystal version Mirage. Wait, that's a 3-pack. Did anyone actually buy that set? I'm not convinced they're real. Anyway, I wouldn't have even bothered bringing this history up if it weren't for some strange circumstances that followed. Spinister got a toy in Siege anyway, Wheeljack showed up in Wave 1 of Earthrise, and Mirage got himself a third figure as a Decepticon? I thought that's what Impactor was for. Anyway, on to the figure at hand. Mirage once again transforms into a blue and white Formula racer of a distinctly Cybertronian make. You can tell it's Cybertronian because it's lumpy, graceless, and malformed. The front 2/3 or so look just fine with a gleaming white nose and an inexplicable crystal blue fuselage. Seriously, in the promo pics, only the cockpit window itself was supposed to be transparent, so why make the whole thing translucent? On the sides of this crystalline cowl are tampagraphs meant to allude to Generation 1 Mirage's Citan branding. Strangely, not in the standard Autobot script used on every Siege figure's packaging. Honestly, it's such a breath of fresh air for me. Those who've been keeping up with this channel know just how much I despise the chosen Autobot orthography. This is more visually appealing by far. Unfortunately, the words visually appealing stop here when being used to describe Mirage's alternate mode. Here is the rear wing, placed much farther forward than that of any other Mirage in my collection, coming across as ill-placed and generally a hindrance. It couldn't even produce any downforce no matter Mirage's velocity, considering his arms are slung underneath. Rounding out the back is, I'm sure I saw something like this on the Discovery Channel once. Also, is it just me, or aren't Formula car tires supposed to be in line with each other? Yeah, Cybertronian and whatever, but it still looks sloppy. This is certainly a unique transformation scheme for a Mirage. The entire first 2/3 of the vehicle, that is, all the good bits, splits in half and folds onto itself to form a, well, I can't really say solid pair of legs. They feel a little rickety and a bit unsteady, but they hold fine enough. After pulling out the head from the void of the rear end, the wheels suck in neatly and the spinal column hinges together in a very smart and succinct manner. The spoiler and intake mass splits apart to form the arms, locking themselves into his torso very solidly. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of Mirage's robot mode. With the broad, flat chest and the shoulders wider than the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, Mirage looks like he shares more in common with Sideswipe than he does with any other Mirage I know. I'd really like to have seen what the designers at Hasbro would have come up with had they tried to incorporate the nose cone into the chest. I'm sure both modes would have been improved. Still, they did put in a valiant effort sculpting and painting in that recess in his collar that shows where his face would normally go if he wasn't such a cheat. The legs themselves look very provisional once you get past the cowling. There's very little here in terms of functional calf mass, which could have been alleviated by, using the rear of the car? Yes, I'm aware I'm sounding very much like a typical G1er. It's just frustrating to see Hasbro cheat the transformation when there's really no need to. Sure, there's the excuse that they're trying new things for old characters, but this is Siege we're talking about here. Like, that in and of itself isn't bad whatsoever. Cyberverse has been applauded by nearly the whole fandom for doing just that. But it's kind of a jarring juxtaposition of these figures that are as slavish to the Generation 1 cartoon as possible, next to something that would look more at home and animated. Again, just being different doesn't make a figure bad by any stretch of the imagination. But damn, do faux parts really grind my gears sometimes. I think Mirage's weaponry is pretty neat. He has his C-20 electro-disruptor cannon, which is the typical unpainted, overdesigned sci-fi rifle that's quite rote at this point in the line, but remains wholly inoffensive. In my eyes, a boring weapon is better than no weapon at all. But then, there's something really special. Mirage comes with his signature shoulder cannon, dubbed the W-15 armor-piercing rocket dart launcher. Sure, it looks unsuspecting enough, but the missile comes out... No, it's not the second coming of spring-loaded missile launchers, as much as I'd like it to be, but this is still pretty cool, and far more believable than Sideswipe's feeble attempt. Throw in some effect parts, and you got yourself a part of a real dynamic display.
Remember back in 2006 when Classics Mirage came out and everyone and their brother came out saying, oh, he's the most posable Transformers figure yet made? Well, I don't, considering I was in first grade at the time. And now all of you feel so old. Anyway, Siege Mirage is not the most posable Transformers figure of all time, not even close, but he is pretty good. Starting at the head, he has a ball-jointed head that goes all the way around, and it can go up and down just a tiny little bit, and it can go side to side, so he can be like, the ship was full. At the arms, they go forward and backwards in a 360-degree arc, and they have a 90-degree arc of outward movement, which is pretty good, so he can do the overused Joe! Another cool feature is that due to his construction, the spoilers actually go outwards on a hinge, the same hinge that the arms go outwards, so he can have, like, little wings, so he can fly like a thing that flies. He doesn't need a parachute, because he comes with his own parachute. So now it doesn't matter if the ship is at maximum capacity or not, because he can jettison himself whenever he chooses. Due to transformation, he actually has a butterfly joint, though this unseats the shoulder from the torso in a manner most unnatural. If this were a human, you'd be able to see bone. The biceps swivel 360 degrees on a very nice joint. It doesn't catch on anything. It's very nice. I've never gone in detail on a bicep swivel before. I'm doing it now to compensate. The elbows bend 90 degrees, which is the threshold for what I consider a good elbow joint. Similarly for the knees. The wrists don't pose on their own, but they can go inwards for transformation, though this makes him look a little bit fey. That's more Trax's shtick than Mirage's, but, you know, it's 2020. He can be whoever he wants to be. The waist swivels 360 degrees, which is very nice considering this is not a joint utilized for transformation. So this is a dedicated waist swivel. Why am I surprised by this? It's been in the toy line for about like 3 years now. Why am I even making a big deal out of this? Why am I even making toy reviews at all? What am I doing with my life? The legs have a ball joint that go forward and backwards in a 180-degree arc, which is pretty good. That's about as good as you can expect, though if you bring it outwards, he can go for a little more of a high kick, though it looks more like he's breaking his leg. That high kick is accompanied by this thigh swivel, which does not go 360 degrees around, but it does allow for enough movement to look very, very natural. The knees bend just about 90 degrees, which reaches that goodness threshold that I really keep hammering into my videos. Finally, at the feet, they go forward and backwards a little bit, more backwards than forwards, simply due to transformation. They go forwards just enough to make walking poses possible, maybe skidding poses, maybe the supreme dab. Things I'll do to get more subscribers, I swear to God. Finally, at the ankle, he has an ankle pivot, which is not... Oh, well, that's certainly surprising. Apparently they can go this far. You can just break his ankles, I guess. I've never made them go this far before. I didn't think they could. In fact, I thought they just stopped right here, but apparently they can't. Hasbro, why did you deceive me like this? I trusted you. I gave you my money.
I've been ragging on Mirage quite a bit in this review, haven't I? Don't get me wrong, Mirage is far from a bad figure, and is also far from the worst Siege has to offer. His transformation, while something of a cheat, is dynamic and pretty fun. His robot mode looks great for the most part, it's just something of a clash with the other offerings of the line. It feels like he was plucked from the 2014 era of Generations and retooled a bit to fit Siege's design ethic, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, it's just odd. What I do consider a bad thing is that cheating transformation. Sure, it helps the robot mode out a little bit, but it nearly ruins the vehicle mode, meaning only about 2/3 of this figure is any good. But, just like any college student will be glad to remember, a 67% is still a passing grade, so Siege Mirage gets stuck with the rank of above average. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe to this channel for more reviews like this in the future. Stay tuned for my next review, where I'll be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Voyager Class Constructicon Mixmaster. This has been Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.